on, countdown.
We go 5, 4.
Hey, hello, and welcome everyone to She's of Love. Today we have Jen on our beautiful show again. I'm so excited because every single time that Jen that we talk with Jen, it's just the most amazing
Yeah.
conversation. I remember because it's been a couple times, and I remember like each time I walk away just feeling so uplifted and so much better than when I walked in. So I'm really honored to have you on once again, or we're really honored, I should
Yeah.
say, to have you on again. Sorry to just
It's all right.
toss
You
you off.
speak for yourself, Juliet.
So today the topic is a really important one for me at the moment, and I think for the world at the moment with everything going on, and that's moving beyond the limitations of your mind, moving beyond your mind to a place where, free from things like fear and, all the fun things that your mind likes to create. Yeah, and existing in a world where you are unbound by, I want to say, the very physical 3D lower density emotions that kind of hold us all back.
Yeah, and I just want to say before we start, if you guys are watching out there, join us in the comments on Facebook,
Yeah.
or even on YouTube, because I'll check them while we're
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, Jen,
All right,
did you
so
get
yeah,
did you
Prince.
get what she was saying?
I did. I got what she was saying. So, like, how to kind of like stay present and choose to meet each moment. Is that essentially what you're getting? Okay, yeah. So yeah, this has been a bit of a challenge area for me of late because I'm in a big transition area or big transition kind of phase of life right now. So this is where I don't know if you spoke live this morning, but I actually had to kind of like reset myself because I kind of lost that flow of being able to meet each moment and to I've worked really, really, really hard to cultivate in my experience, which is that grounded, centered presence. And I think for me, it's, this is feeling a little bit more vulnerable than I expected because as a therapist, I work a lot with shame with my patients. With myself, I still encounter a lot of elements where even I feel like I've unhinged the grip of shame. Next thing you know, right under, and it can be so sticky and hard. And so for me, I think the major is to being able to speak about and to kind of like not, I guess, as vulnerable to being ripped out of present moment, be thrust into the grips of shame, all of that. It's a work in progress, and I think when we allow, or when shame insinuates itself in, and feeling of shame about one thing, I think a seepage that can happen. So for me, it's been kind of like a process of, I know when I'm alignment and I know when I'm out of flow because that's just it. Well, they don't go smoothly. I get up, I get blockered up, I get confused, I get disoriented, and I have to go to get to that transcended mind. And so for me, there's a lot with kind of tracking the signs of like fear and bringing them back onto course. It's been really helpful to kind of generate a repertoire of skills that I can go to reset the nervous body to kind of like allow me to discharge whatever emotion got in there, and then be able to kind of like who I am and what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
Remind myself of my intentions, remind myself of the things that I'm grateful for, remind myself of my strength and all that I have done to get to the point where I am. And then when I'm able to get back, I know I then return to that flow state. And so what flow state means to me is like where I'm needed. And I end up having beautiful interactions with in the most unexpected sorts of ways. And that's one of my inflow state versus when I'm pulled again, mostly by shame somehow getting in the mix.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, especially as somebody who works with other people healing trauma and kind of like that recognition. We still bring our own shit. It still will get triggered, and not only do we want to be able to resolve that for ourselves, but we want to be able to that for others. You know, and so I think that's been a little bit trickier to name. It does is it kind of holds me more. It doesn't allow me, it doesn't enable me to play all those mental games with myself a lot of times, or wait for somebody else or to come to the aid or to swoop in and rescue. You know, it's a lot more. And so I think there are a lot of things that are connected to that, and one of the biggest ones I think is courage. And so I like to think about it in that way of like we're courage to pull ourselves edge. And I don't know about your experience, if you're resonating with what I'm saying, but what I'm able to find now is when I'm off course, pull myself back. It's much less disruptive. And then again, that intention piece is so integral, I think, to the process of transcending the mind. When you know that something's greater, cannot get in and like infiltrate that state of calm, because you know, and you're
So so many things like are dropping in while you're speaking. It's insane. One thing that like I really wanted to add on was about how like, okay, so something that really dropped in for me last night, I was journaling because I'm also going through like a really big transitional stage as well. And I've been a lot more stressed because everything is new in my life and changing, and I'm really stepping into my adulthood at the moment, and it kind of just happened like instantly. I didn't really see the moment where I went from child to adult, but it's just kind of happened, you know. And so now and again, I want to say I'm always with my child, with my inner child. My inner child will never be gone, but, you know, stepping into the adult role for myself has been a really quick transition. It hasn't been something that I was like, oh yeah, this is happening. It was just like, oh, I'm here now. What? And yeah, so with this, there's been a lot of stress and fear and just like a lot of the mind, like it's been all about the mind getting in the way. And it's kind of last night it kind of built up to this point where I felt my worst in my body, which was really weird because I'm eating really good, I'm exercising, I just started at the gym, you know, and I was like, why am I feeling my worst right now? And there was also some like other little things that were coming up, like pain in my back and pain here, and you know, a lot of extra well, the emotions can be explained, but you know, just a lot of unexplained things. And so I decided to channel my body. because my mind was putting all these scary meanings to, oh, your back's hurting because, and it was putting all these scary meanings that would overwhelm me and stress me out. So I was like, look, let's just tune into my body, because my body knows. And so my body basically told me, Juliet, did you ever think that maybe the reason for everything like that feels off in your life right now is because of the stress? Maybe it's because of the fear. Maybe it's because of the stress. Maybe it's not the body. Maybe it's not me. Maybe I'm not doing anything.
The mind.
Maybe it's the mind. And it's all these fears and anxieties and stresses that are putting meaning to everything. Maybe that's the root of the problem, not this or that, or those scary things that I was thinking. And it really hit me, and that was actually after I even chose this topic for today. So when I choose these topics, it's like an intuitive, like I breathe and I'm like, what do we do, what do we talk about tomorrow? And then like this was all after I intuitively chose the topic. So definitely some synchronicities there. But as you were speaking, I really resonated with just tuning into the moment. And when it comes to shame and guilt and everything like that, like and fear, because shame is also a really big thing. I've realized, especially it feels a lot heightened in the feminine as well. Like anything you do, there's always shame attached. Like I've been crying at work a lot because my hormones are very like I'm coming into a lot of hormones at the moment, and so I'm crying at work a lot, and the amount of shame that comes with that I like have to go through, and like be like
tears in public.
Yeah, tears in public, or people are gonna think I'm dramatic, like what am I doing? And it's not something
I'm not in control,
and instead of just allowing the emotion to come through. And I can tell from other people that there's also shame in them watching me. They're like, oh, that's embarrassing, I'm glad that's not me, that sort of thing. And like, why is she crying, she's being dramatic? And that is such like a theme, I feel like, with with men too. I don't want to toss men out of this, but with women it seems like a different battle, because the hormone thing, and like just us as a nature, like in our bodies, we express our emotions a lot more
in a physical manifestation
way.
With tears.
And just to be shamed every time you do it outside of your own four walls,
or to shame yourself.
Shame yourself. So shame is like this thing that just comes up out of anything, how it could be the smallest little thing, and just a tiny bit of shame can snowball into something a lot greater and
make it worse.
Yes. And
so Jen, I have a question for you.
Oh yeah.
With all of that in mind then, and going back to something that you said, what are some of your favorite ways to cultivate courage? Can you tell us that?
Yeah. Okay. So, funny that you mentioned this, because it kind of we've been talking about. A lot of it actually has to inside and addressing little Jen. A lot of it is like being in there and kind of being with her, talking with her, hearing her. No, it wasn't your fault. That I think one of my biggest triggers for not knowing something and then having some sort of outcome, like I didn't know, therefore you couldn't anticipate, you couldn't plan, you couldn't mitigate, you couldn't circumnavigate.
Yes, that's a huge one for me.
So huge, right? Because basically what happens is that gets kind of locked in place, and in our minds we still feel like it's too much, or it's too big, or we can't, right? And so
Yeah.
it is just kind of that nurturance. So I think for me, it's twofold. It's big adult competence, and then it's little Jen and the parts that when I'm feeling threatened, when I'm feeling have an incidence of not had a great big not knowing, even a not so great morning this morning, and I had to kind of bring myself back from that. Challenging for me, because with this big transition with work, I'm trying to kind of generate my practice, right? You're looking at when you're branching in the direction I am, you're even though I'm within somebody else, it's still like creating, right? And so with that, you have people coming in to be with you in that. And so there's just been a lot of scheduling like challenges to kind of make sure that I can the demands and things. And so I think what you guys talked about also correlates to the societal and cultural messaging that we get, particularly as and you know, with the family dynamics, I call it crazy making. I call it crazy making when in the family system we have what is. We have people constantly trying to what you know that you know isn't, and that it's something else and it's external, right? But we all know from the work and hear her. And the answers are never going to be out there, and the calm is never going to has to be here. The love has to be here. The power has to be here. The somatic stuff really took off when energy therapy started receiving did my yoga teacher training, learned about the breath. So for me, the breath anchor. And I don't but with the breath and with using other somatic pieces with so much like I didn't even realize, but I had been holding my stomach. We had talked about shame. With both hands on my stomach without even realizing it until several minutes later.
Yeah.
Because I know to be true about myself that that's very calming. My hands there, I will feel connected to myself and to the love.
Also,
that is there.
Yeah, sorry, I was just gonna say also that area is where your body, like your pelvis, is where you hold a lot of shame and guilt. And I actually shared a video about it yesterday. If you dance it out, it kind of like expels out of your body.
Exactly.
So
yes, I saw that video, and I actually was hoping to that we could comment on that video. Yes, movement of the hips I have found to be so huge, and about the shame. Like for the longest time, I'm like, oh, women, we need to move our hips. No, it's everyone. We all need to move our.
Yeah.
It's very liberating. I mean, if you think about it, that's energy resides, right? Divine creative life force energy. Our sacral chakra, that's where it lives. We've talked about it on here. I think I might have mentioned it briefly, but I sacral connection. And again, I could say it's mostly in women, but I don't know that that's true. But the solar sacral, and I think a big hit with shame. I don't know about you guys, but I'll feel. And the way I explain it to my patients is this is power center. This is I am life's purpose, life's path. And so I know that when this is flared, I mean, I've had solar plexus injuries where it's like a pain, a pervasive for like 7 to 10 days. Like a couple of years ago, I didn't eat for 5 days, like literally hardly eat anything for 5 days because the body was able to receive with this blockage. And that injury was actually a triggering of a core that I had got brought out. And so that's been a whole formative piece on recalibrate myself back, because that injury was so profound. It literally was life changing. Solar injury, and then figuring out how to nurture myself and my body, energy, and my spirit back to health. I think of it like is so silly analogy, but I think about like when Devin was little and he used to watch the Pokemon cart. Little Pokemons would have to go to the Pokemon. Well, right? I'm like, I don't know what made me think of that analogy, but it's like, yeah, I've had to create myself a little hospital of like, how do I restore my life force, my vitality? You know, and that's the other piece of all of this. It's because we're far less susceptible to shape. Let's just put that right out there. Resource. I put my hand here. To me, it's like this internal reservoir. I talk about it. This is fully resourced to me. This is getting depleted. This is like, oh my God, somebody's got to do something. I think this is a catastrophic outcome. Like, that's just way too low to ever be going. So I was like 35. I lived here. This was my life till 35. Was way. So this has been literally like an evolution. You know.
Yeah.
And I'm really proud to say, I'm proud of myself. The pride thing very much. I try to like. Well, pride thing, but I am proud of myself that I.
Yeah.
Mostly up here, and that's huge to me. And I think we've talked health framework, and that really is. I have in the corner of my whiteboard at work. Frequent check-ins with self to discern what is needed. So when nourishing our bodies with the food that we know are good for our bodies, when we stay away for our bodies. Oh my God, you guys, I can't tell you how many years ago I read that book, Warrior Goddess Training, Heather. I don't know if you're familiar with this title. It's like a red book. It was big in the scene like 10 years ago. Anyway, it's a great book. Warrior Goddess Training. Heather Eshimara does great trainings. Her trainings are actually free. She's done like, I've taken like 4 hours charge. She's great. In the beginning of this book, you know what the foods are that aren't good for your body. Why do you keep eating them? That's not, you know? It's literally taken me until like the last like 3 to 5 years to actually honor that.
Yeah.
To kind of let go of the idea of, I like this thing and I want to have it, and I have it too from that very like lack-based perspective. Recognition that, fuck that, I can elevate myself to a higher state of being by avoiding that which I know is not. And I think that's a lot of it too. It's where are we going? Where are we putting ourselves? Where are we, what ourselves, or even, you know, what are we putting in there? And how does that keep us kind of out of those like lower vibration states?
So it's all the choices that we're making layered on top of each other that are filling that reservoir inside. It's all the little choices, the everyday things, the way we speak to ourselves in our heads, the way we choose to eat our food, or the choices of food that we choose to eat.
It's like builds a platform.
Yeah, builds up. And something that I read, actually I think it was about 2 days ago, was that it was a question to us, to the people reading the post, was, are you operating from overflow? And that hit me so hard, because yes, we you know, people are operating down where you were saying that you were operating from that level since till you were 35, and then you started building it up. But what hit me about that question was, we can be full and still be operating from fullness, and then we deplete from that, and then we need to bring it back up again. But if we operate from overflow, if we're overflowing, we're constantly full up here, and we're only giving from the extra that we have, which I thought that's really, that makes so much sense to me, because when I'm full and I have overflow, then I can give.
That's what you give.
That's what you give. You give the overflow. You keep
Everything
yourself
in
full.
Here is
for you. Everything in here is for you, and you only give from overflow. And I thought, wow, that's so profound. Like, that really is making sense to me. It resonated to me.
That's incredibly profound. And, you know, it's with me so deeply, and it reminds me of another unlock that I came across not that long ago in the big scheme of, like a year ago. So we talked, you know, intention has been a big topic today for me, and thinking, like, how did I generate my understanding of intentionality, and why is that so important? You know, and I think that when we are more intentional, our outcomes are going to be better. And so this idea that you're talking about, like, ourselves up so much that we've got overflow to give from, and then we still, it like takes that oxygen mask analogy to even the next echelon, right? Reminds me too of, like, with intention practice. I did a little group with actually Indy from Sister Circle, and it was a gratitude and intention setting group, and it was like January 2021. It was not that long ago, and it was just where every day you would go into our Go Poll and just say something, you know, a couple things that you're grateful for, and then and so it's not like that was the first time that I had worked with intention, but that was the first time I made like an intentional daily. I haven't dropped it since. I'm still doing. I like to do my gratitude and intention practice in the morning, like before I even get out of bed. And I learned early on, if I was going to try to force myself to write it, it was going to make it inaccessible, because again, the shame thing, and if I don't do it, I missed it, and then I can't just pick it up again, because that's I decided I'm gonna run it mentally, and that's what I do. And I wake up and I just kind of come in the day, and I used to just kind of like do that, like a little just glimpse into the day, and kind of like a little intention. This is what I hope to achieve, for the, you know, the energy I hope to carry through. And now I start to actually run the movie of the things done all successfully, and all of the things coming that I'm like, and it's more like it already is, it's already done.
Yeah.
It's kind of like vibe that, and I tap in and tune in and yeah, like that. And I don't know if you guys have done like frequency work with the self-healing, self-hypnosis, to try to like in other words, to like expel something from, try to figure out like what that frequency is, and like negate the frequency and kick it back out of the system, like discharge it. So anyway, I've been kind of like exploring with things like that. Like, is this whole visualizing the day, or even just conceptualizing, like it already is, it's already done. Like, if there's a scheduling snafu, for tomorrow, whole little snafu, it created all this pressure, this pressure. It wasn't even real, you guys. The pressure wasn't even real. It was all perceptual. But then, of course, because I burned myself, then I went back into flow and didn't that flow right out, and everything worked out. Same with this scheduling for this evening. This is scheduled for the 10th.
Yeah.
And then it just happened to work out, and it doubly worked out because this little schedule tomorrow, I needed assistance with that for tonight. This, which frees me out for the other things. is when we turn into ourselves and we're listening. It's not enough to like know that the voice is there. You've got to go in and see it with it, you know, and then
Yeah.
you can come back to flow, and the things will just kind of be. It's crazy how that works.
Yeah. That,
Oh,
you go.
sorry.
You go.
One thing that has really dropped in for me is the analogy of if our life as humans were a ship, the mind would be the steering wheel, and we're still separate from the ship. We're walking along the ship. We're still there. We can operate the ship because we're not the ship, but our mind is part of the ship. Our mind is the steering wheel. And so some people think, oh, I am the ship. I'm not my own thing. I am my body. I am my mind. I am what's here. And so they just let the mind steer where it goes.
They don't even control it.
They don't. They just are like, oh, well, my mind's the steering wheel. I'm the ship. I have no control. It's just going to go where it wants. And this whole time we don't realize that, no, we're our own entity and we have the capability of steering the wheel, taking the wheel.
Taking control of our mind.
Yes. And one thing that I wanted, no, it's fine. One thing that you were talking about earlier about, the food and are you eating what's good for you? Are you eating what's nourishing your body? And that question is so triggering for so many people. Like, just the question of, like, are you eating what's good for you? That is such a triggering question. And it's like the only reason that it's triggering is because of our minds. It's got, if that question was just laid out, it would be like, oh, no, I'm not all the time. Let's change that. And it would be easy, like, there would be no...
So what you're saying, we're attached. Yes, we're attached somehow.
Shame,
yes.
Trauma. These things.
It's a loaded question.
It's such a loaded question. And, when you live in the emotions of shame, stress, anxiety, fear, those really dense emotions, a simple question is turned into the most complex thing ever. And, that's not saying that it isn't complicated, because trust me, I feel those triggers too, because when you asked that question, it was like, it was triggering for me as well because of my own things. But, at the end of the day, we should be eating what's good for us. It shouldn't have so much weight added to it. Yeah, we should, as people, as me, myself, it is my responsibility to look after my body, and part of that is eating what my body wants, what my body, like, good fuel for my body. That's part of my responsibility of living on earth and having a body. That's really how I see it. And so it shouldn't be a triggering question, but the mind, but the mind, and that's with everything. I think that's why, life can be so complicated, especially in the Western world with social media and technology everywhere and the news and things like that. It's like simple things are turned into the most complex issues. Like, think about what people say on the internet and how if someone gets offended, it destroys their life. They can no longer walk out on the street because they're literally in danger. They can have things thrown at them. Honestly, it goes to a point of getting physically hurt and physically in danger. And that's just for putting something on the internet that offends people. So, it's so interesting how the mind, and to me, that's because of the mind. That's because of the meaning that the mind puts on these simple things that, like, really, the question of, are you eating what's good for your body? That's a one-word answer,
Yes or no.
Yes or no. But for so many people, it's like, oh, I am, but also no, and you have to excuse the no. It's like, well, if you're not, that's totally fine too. You know, like, why did
That's your journey.
that's your journey, and it doesn't have to be so complicated with such small things in life. And that's kind of what I wanted to touch on when we
Yeah.
talk about moving beyond our mind, is also moving beyond the meaning that we put on
The
everything.
attachment,
Yeah, and that's
the
part of finding
identifications and
courage.
the labels. Sorry, what was that?
Yeah. It's part of finding your
Yeah.
courage. Like, that's part of the journey of moving into the courage, is because when you see that, like when you're conscious of what Juliet's talking about and the shame that it carries and all of the layers of triggering and, you know, all the meaning that we put on something, and we start peeling that all away, and we can get down to the crux of it. Okay, I can take responsibility. No, I'm not eating the way I should, and I'm not going to carry the shame of that. I'm going to do something good for myself, and I'm going to start eating what's healthy for my body. That's part of the courage. That's part of the journey into self-love, and being able to offload the heavy burden of the attachment and the judgment and all of that stuff, so that we can start to fill our cup and operate through overflow instead of operating from lack and from a low tide of self-love. Yeah.
For sure. And that's just that's just nutrition. Then we've got eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's only one thing.
Less, which is water and hydration. You know, and then in the mix,
Yeah.
I'm like working on creating all these other like offshoots of it. But like, yeah, this piece that you talked about with the mind. So like, as you guys know, probably just from talking to me and from my feed and stuff, I like to kind of devour resources. I don't know.
Yes. I remember, Jen.
A colleague, when I was a teacher, like she would be like, you know what? Resources, you're gonna beg, borrow, steal. You're gonna find what you need. You're just gonna pull from here and pull from there and pull from there, and it's gonna amazing creation, right? And so this was like a colleague I worked with for several years, and it just really taught about how to glean, right? So I don't know if you're familiar with Michael Singer. He wrote a book called The Untethered Soul. Now this book has and it's been on all the talk shows. It's been all acclaimed all over the place. I haven't just a disclaimer, I'll just put that out there. However, I read the introduction, and in the introduction, holy shit, there's this piece, you guys, where it voice in the head. Oh my god, Julia, it's like exactly what you. If you recognize that the voice in the head, then it's not you.
Yeah.
So you're the one controlling the voice behind all the things, and the whole rest of it with the nonsense. Because if we could just be still and let things come through, and we'll know without needing to create an extra overlaid narrative.
Yeah.
Talk about the mind, how mind-blowing is. I feel like I don't even need to read the book. I'm just kidding. I eventually revisit the text, but I feel like this is enough to chew on.
List too.
This is giving me what I need for right now.
Yeah. I one thing that kind of led me to this topic today is actually I'm reading a Joe Dispenza book, Becoming Superhuman, I believe, Supernatural.
That's the one I just started. No.
Yeah, it's really, I haven't finished it. I'm about like a third in at the moment. And I'm taking it slow, because with nonfiction books like this that have so much, like, such wisdom, such strong spiritual wisdom, it's something I can't just do in one go personally. I have to like read a couple pages that day and
Digest
then
it.
integrate, and then I'll come back to it. And, you know, like, I'll usually read it on the train going into work, because it just sets me in a good mind space before I, you know, go into such a crazy place. But yeah, a big topic, I mean, the main topic of his whole book, Becoming Supernatural, is moving beyond your mind. Because, or not even moving beyond your, yes, moving beyond your mind, but then once you've moved beyond your mind, cultivating your mind. Because at the moment, so many people, like, if we're talking about society in general, and again, there's definitely not everyone is in this, but society in general is living from a past place. Like, they're living in their past because they're living the same day, they're living, they're going to the same job, same school.
Yeah, right.
And then
That's
they're
so
going
true.
for the same hours, usually a lot of the time, because, you have a set amount of hours every week and that's the same. And then they're coming home, they're to the same house with the same, if they've got a family, to the same people, same patterns, like, and then they watch the same show to decompress, or the same, because if you're going by television, the show comes on at the same time, and then they go to bed at the same time that night, and then they wake up with the same thoughts because they're going to do the same thing again. And so you're living in the past.
Wow.
Because there's no surprises, there's no, oh, what's going to happen today, because you already know, you already have it all set out. But really, you don't know, because you could be walking to work. Yeah, because you could be walking to work and just choose not to go to work, couldn't you? You could choose not to go to work that day. You could choose to go do this instead. Or you can choose, you have so many choices in every step that you take throughout your day. Literally, physically, you have a choice whether to go straight to where you're going, to turn, do a bit of a side quest, or to, you have, in every single moment you have a choice, but people don't recognize that. And so basically what Joe Dispenza is talking about is moving beyond your mind and then cultivating it, so no longer living from the past, and instead projecting your future and living as if your future is real.
That's
So
how you manifest.
that's how you manifest as well. Yes, exactly. But he takes it to such a level where people completely, like, heal from physical trauma, like physical illness. Like, he shares an anecdote in his book about a woman who she had so many problems health wise, like it just fed into every single area of her life. And through the practice of just imagining her future, what she wants her future to be like, and then getting excited and attaching that future with emotions, and really feeling it like it's real, and getting excited about it and feeling the emotions that future brings, by showing up every day and doing that practice. He has meditations on YouTube, you can just go look up, and you can do it every single day. And
did she change?
She healed completely from things that, like, it was one of those things where she had one problem, and then she had to take medication for that problem, and then the medication created more problems, and then she had to take more medication for those problems, and then she had to take, like, all these medications, and she had a lot of other things going on. And she's off medication and everything. She healed her body completely, and I really resonated with what he was saying, because it's so true for so many people, of just living in the past. And I do it as well. I don't even live the same day over and over again, but still.
But I never looked at it like that, and that's actually really insightful.
Yeah.
Extremely insightful information about how we're stuck in a loop, and that loop continues to go. So every day is repeating itself.
Yeah.
Which is like Groundhog. That movie Groundhog Day. Yeah.
Well, it connects to so many. Culturally, that you just kind of encapsulated the nugget that I a couple of years ago, because I actually bought that book. I'm like almost embarrassed to say, like 3 years ago. Started actually reading it, but I have listened to his like YouTube content, meditations, other people's like exploration and take on it. For me, the encapsulation there is kind of what you alluded. Gem that I picked up from Joe, really delving fully again, is potential potentialities and possibilities which exist all around us are all around it. So I actually brought that language into my daily mantras like a couple summers ago. Yeah, I guess it would have been 20. And I brought that piece in, and I would just really, I would get really like running away with these affirmations towards the end. I'm not really doing the full practice anymore. I'm just kind of doing as needed, like called. It was becoming like very rote, like almost programmed. But the one at the end talked about, what I've been trying to cultivate also with the courage is like that allowing, which is also intricately connected to the infinite loop of giving, which is also intricately connected to worthiness and deservingness. Because if we don't just self-love, that self-acceptance, that self-compassion, we don't generate this sense of worthiness and deservingness, and then not only we can't even receive, and then what the hell are we giving with? Giving and overgiving and overextending to the point of depletion and indeed illness and disease. And yet not able to fully receive because the shit is us down so low that we're not able to come when we're supposed to be engaging with that. And I think that and I do think that there is a feminine element to some of the nature of how these, and it's so interesting because as I've been talking, like in the back of my mind, so much of like the work that I've done in assist people in resolving difficulties around nourishing the self, the eating, if you will, just been, oh God, guys, it's just been so I don't even know what the word is. I guess sacred. I'm gonna go with sacred. It's just been a really kind of like reverent, I guess is more the word, reverent experience to kind of get to like, what is it that, oh God, it's so emotional for me. Like, what is it, that inability to choose to nurture the to want to nurture the inability to generate a sense of commensurate of nourishing that vessel. And it's just everything that we talked about. I think that there are elements that are kind of what conditions for those types of things to take root and to thrive. And Julia, you made such an interesting point too about and the dangers that can pose, like when you go to leave your house, all the dangers that can pose to you while you're in this supposed safety, and you're with your device and you're interacting with stuff. And I think a lot of times we're not only just going through the same day because we're living with those like rote expectations, and while consistency is great, automatronicness, like a sheer automaticity is not natural. It's not. And what kind of scares me about the conversation is directly concurrent to the advent of all of this influx. Well, it's not even longer than they've been telling us with this whole AI piece. And what is that doing? And how is that going to continue to come in and right? And how is that going to continue to come in and create illusion and delusion? And, how do, with all the things that we've been talking about and working on, is like literally coming at us. And but I think that those of us who are psychically gifted, I think we can feel it and we can perceive it. And I think that there's some weird brew, if you will, with all of that.
I something actually that I bit weird and kind of on the side of this subject of, you know, social media and all that, and the dangers that come with social media inside your home, and just, I don't know, the weird goings on of the world right now is around like all this disclosure that's coming out, and people are just so chill about it because, you know, there's been all this disclosure about aliens. Like, I mean, the government's literally just been like, yeah, aliens are real, guys. And everyone's just completely like, yeah, cool. And the thing that really, so at first I was angry. At first I was angry. I was like, can people like care? But then, but then I took it from this perspective of, hang on a second, because what was what was their excuse every single time that they their whole excuse for not disclosing information was, you know, unrest, like panic from everyone. People are going to panic. People are going to freak out. You know, that was their whole excuse. And I love it. I love that people are like, yeah, cool, because it just shows that we as humans, as people, are not what the media, what the government says and tries to put on us. They, you know,
The
the
reality
mold
isn't,
that they try
their
and fit us
reality
in
isn't true.
as a society,
Yeah.
and that we tend to believe, you know, they're telling us, oh, you guys won't be able to handle it, you'll freak out, and we're like, okay, sure. You know, for so long, it had me even questioning, yeah, like if they told the public that aliens were real, would there be panic? But no, they're you know, make it, I don't know, I okay, it is a bit disappointing that people aren't, you know, making a bigger deal out of it, but at least they're wrong. That's all I can say. At least it proves to us all that the meaning that they put on all of us, the mold that they try and fit us in, is wrong and incorrect. And I'll take that as a win.
And what that says to me is that you shouldn't just automatically eat what they're giving you. You should ask the question, is this good for my body?
Yes.
Is this good for my mind? Like, if you can have that as your gatekeeper, and you can say, okay, hang on a minute, I'm not going to just digest it because you say it. I'm going to actually use my critical thinking skills and say, is this good for me?
I think also,
and just ask that question of everything. Is this good for me? Is this good for me? Is this good for me? And then if everything has to pass through that filter, eventually all the stuff that's not good for you will be filtered out, and then your life, your path will be filled with all the things that are good for you.
yeah, and I also like think so many people just believed that aliens were real anyway, so it was like, yeah, we already know.
Like we already know. It wasn't a big deal.
It's not a big deal anymore. We've long discovered long ago that aliens are real, and it really, because again, like how I was saying, like I was really disappointed that there wasn't more of a big deal surrounding this. Like people weren't freaking out or making a bigger deal about it. Because I'm like, guys, we finally have what we want. We have them admitting. We have them admitting.
I didn't even know anything about this.
No, it's like they had a whole like Congress thing.
Yeah, right.
And they were saying that we have evidence and like biological, non-human biological
Who was
evidence.
saying this?
It was at a Congress thing. And you know what? It could be not real. I mean, I think we have biological evidence anyway, whether or not. Anyway, but I was really like, why isn't this more of a thing? Why are people like just so chill about this? But then I'm like, you know, when you take the perspective away, I'm glad that people aren't so reliant on the government telling us things anymore. Because I truly believe that the reason why there is a lack of reaction is because everyone already knew themselves. Aliens were real. We have evidence of aliens. The government knows about aliens. Everyone, it was like a universal truth for a while, like that the government was just hiding things about aliens. Like anyone
That's
that I talked to was like, yeah, we'll,
like, yeah,
It's like
yeah,
in a way.
like the whole
Yeah.
thing.
yeah,
The like, you know, taking the lid off, right?
And that's the thing, and I guess
Yeah.
that's what gives me a slight sense of like unease about it, is like, what exactly are they after? Like, clearly that's not it. And for me, it's just kind of indicative that it's like they're clicking the little cart up the click, click, click.
Like where's that
thing gonna go? Like, what?
yeah.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I just
Yeah, but as long as we know that, like,
yeah,
what you're saying is that the train is clicking up the thing and we're going, well, that's your train. That
Yeah.
ain't my train. I'm happy to sit
Right.
here and watch your train click up the track and you can take it wherever you like, but it doesn't mean I'm going on that train with you.
yeah. Well,
You
you
know?
know,
on that
topic, like just
loosely, because like I'm getting all these.
I don't know if you've seen the guy with the big crazy hair.
from the Disney documentary on UFO. Incredible.
Like
He's actually quite cool.
You know, they had
On that particular, I don't.
like a Disney documentary about UFOs. You guys got to check it out.
If you've never.
This lady named
Nancy Red Star.
I have two lost books, two texts that I bought of this Nancy Red
Star.
Star. One is called Legends of the Star People.
And it's all about how ubiquitous to all world cultures are UFO.
So in the myth, the folklore, the storytelling, these elements, they've always been there.
They've never not been there. And so I ordered these two books. They're like completely MIA. I believe I may have lent them to somewhere. I believe I may have lent like $14 each. So at some point, collect them. But
I think for me,
it's just another avenue to explore.
I really enjoy,
as you guys know, the work of Carolyn Mace and archetypes, and even as we got talking about the Joe Dispenza stuff, so I'm into like this whole idea of quantum. I even bought, because I'm
doing like the more hands-on bodywork stuff, I even bought a book called Quantum Touch. And
it's going after exactly what you're talking about, that projection into the future and the healing through that. And there's just so many fascinating elements that we've talked about tonight, and there's just such a beautiful like crossover and interweave. You know,
for me, it kind of like
bring.
I was thinking
about coming into this space this evening, having a bite to eat.
You know, thinking about the beauty of that sister circle. Guys, right? Our
global sister circle, and how powerful that
is, and how much I grew and developed as an individual, and even that bit with my
hands on the stomach. I gotta say, some of that is Bev. You know, she taught us that one day to take our little digits and hook it right into that navel, and we're gonna feel that immediate sense of connection. That like is a go-to for me ever since. There's just so much to be
gained from sharing space with women
like you for a year's time.
And
it's really something, I know that we've talked about it before, but I really like to get another group like that going, so that conversations like this can kind of shared space, because I don't know about you guys, but result of being with my sisters for that year's time, it's a catalytic my like growth and development and understanding of self, and like you said, how to get the hell off of other people's crazy trains.
Yep.
Somebody else is clicking up somewhere.
Yep.
You know, I want to be on my own thing.
Yep.
And I think
that's the beauty of this conversation, is if there's one thing that you can take away from this conversation today, is when you see the crazy train going, you've got the choice to say, I ain't on that crazy train with you. You've got the choice to say, I'm watching the TV, I'm watching it unfold in front of me, but is it like, ask yourself that question, is this good for me? And if the answer is no, then you stay away from that crazy train. But you need to be present enough in your own life to think about asking that question.
Yes.
Yeah. And Julia, I think last time we talked
a lot of everything in the grounding.
and I think,
if there's one quick way
help with that from the body base,
like that's one that's just really powerful.
Yeah, definitely. Spending as much time as possible honoring Mother Nature. Like that to me is my way of grounding, is just honoring Mother Nature, whether that, and there's also other practices, of course, meditation, yoga, that sort of thing. But when I really want to tune in, I tune in by honoring Mother Nature, because living in a city, it's not as easy for me to go into a really deep nature type environment. I have parks, and
but the energy is different.
But the energy is different.
Yeah.
So instead of focusing, I have to ride on a train and go all the way here, and because I can't do that every day. Instead, I'm like, let's just honor nature right now. Where I am.
With your intention.
With my intention. With even just like putting my feet on earth and just saying thank you, or with my food, because nature is also food, or even with my body, because my body's nature too. So in any way that I can, I honor nature, and that is a really big grounding practice for me at the moment. So
well, and it
Jen, wow.
Yeah.
It's been amazing.
What a episode.
Yeah, I'm so grateful to you for all the information that you've shared with us today. And it's food for thought for me too, because I haven't really got, I want to put together a practice, but I haven't really got one. But today I feel like I've gotten the steps that I need to actually create one for myself. And I think that's really important, is that you've got to do what's right for you, and that might not look like what's right for somebody else. And so like what I say to my son is just try it, like if you don't like it, you don't need to go back there. But if you like it, you found something in your life that's going to add something, and so I'm just going to give it a go and just try different things, and I'll come up with a daily practice, I think, that will help me to fill my cup a little bit fuller, and then I can start to operate out of overflow rather than from down here. The tide is out. So thank you, Jen, for that.
Yeah. Wow. I feel complete. Do you feel complete? Do you feel complete, Jen? Is there anything else?
I do. Yeah, it was lovely.
Okay.
for sharing this time and space and energy with me tonight.
Yeah, I thank you for coming on and sharing your wisdom
and your vulnerability. We
We
love that about you.
Yeah. You're
That was a little more challenging than I expected tonight, just because,
it gets into that.
but,
I think, if we can't walk,
then what are we doing here,
like, what are we doing?
100%. Yeah. But we love that realness about you, and it really does. It shows me how deeply it runs in you and how much you're willing to share with us. So I love that, and I'm really grateful to you for that.
Yeah, we can really, I really can see in those moments just how deeply you care and you love and everything like that. And so, I don't know, I'm really grateful to have been allowed to witness that in you.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you for
Mwah.
honoring that.
thank you everyone for watching. Yeah. Thank you everyone for watching, and we'll definitely, if you would like to, we'll definitely have you on again.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yummy.
Okay. All right, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Yep. Bye, Jen. Mwah.